Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for joining us this morning. I think it's the first time we've obviously had you all together since the new year, and I can't believe it's the end of February already. It seems quite crazy how quickly this year is already going. I'm sure you're feeling the same as well, especially with the very short term you've got up in the run up to Easter. It's a very simple agenda today. Bit of an update from myself, which will take about 10-15 minutes. And then I will pass over to the rest of the team who are going to do an update on Gatsby, the benchmarks. So we can give you a view of how we look from an Oxfordshire level, where we've seen some of the trends in terms of the gaps and the successes around the benchmarks, and also start to sort of look into where some of those, where we're seeing some inconsistencies and things like that, and potentially what you could all be looking at as we move on to completing the next round of evaluations for the end of this term. So obviously all your enterprise coordinators can do a deeper dive with you around that, but this is very much to give you that overall view of how things are looking across the county. And so the majority of that will be, majority of the meeting will be spent on that. We want it to be really interactive, so please ask questions throughout. We might put questions in the chat for you as well. So please just, really want it very much a two-way conversation piece. So and then it will move just on to any other business as well. And if we finish a bit earlier, then obviously that's great to give you all some time back. Right, I don't think I'm on full screen, so apologies. Let me just get you to there. If my screen will do that. Okay, so can you all see the next slide, or has that not moved on?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. So in terms of, I just wanted to share this very quickly. I know a huge amount of you on the call know us very well, but I do know we have also got a couple of new careers leaders who have joined us since the Christmas break. So just a reminder, we are the Careers Hub. We are here to very much support you in looking at your careers provision and ensuring that it meets the needs of all the young people in your establishments to be able to make really considered decisions about what their next step will be once they finish their time with yourselves. We work with all but one of the schools across Oxfordshire, and which includes all colleges, all special schools, alternative provision in Meadowbrook, and 40 of the secondary schools. So we work right across the county and support all of you in terms of that through the enterprise coordinators within the team. In terms of just a quick reminder of our priorities, these haven't changed, but again, for anyone who's just new, obviously, our main priority is ensuring that we support you, as I said, in terms of that continuous improvement of your careers provision, to make sure that it's moving forward as the world of work changes, but also as your cohort of young people changes, and also as we understand more about what has the most impact and the best outcomes for young people in terms of careers. Absolutely supporting you to make sure all young people have their aspirations raised by working with employers. Obviously, that's going to become even more, or is becoming even more important with the emphasis on work experience, and we're expecting to see more around that in the spring over the next couple of months from the government in terms of exactly what that will look like. But we know many of you are already starting to prepare for that change to modern work experience, and really making sure every young person has access as well.
Nikki, sorry to jump in. Your slides haven't moved along, and they are sharing, but it's still on agenda, just so you know.
Okay. Is it moved on now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. That was the other slide I shared just so that people can see that, but I'll send these all out afterwards anyway. Obviously, very much for us, and I know it's a really key thing for your schools as well, and certainly a leadership priority across Oxfordshire, is that support around disadvantaged young people, including young people with SEND as well. So really important that we continue to focus on supporting you to look at how you can differentiate that provision for those young people. And something that I'll come on to in a minute with a new tool that the Careers and Enterprise Company have just launched, which will be able to support you in doing that as well. And then wanting to make sure there's that wraparound of understanding around careers as well for all of our young people, so that parents and carers and teachers have got a really good understanding of what the local labour market looks like, what the pathways are available to our young people, etc. So they can really be that support mechanism. So making sure that they're all informed and aware of what those next steps could be. And then ultimately, obviously, we've got a thriving economy in Oxfordshire, which we're lucky to have, and we need to ensure what we're doing is supporting young people to develop those skills and have the awareness of the roles that are going to be out there in the future for them as well. So we work very closely with business to understand what their needs are, and really understanding what their needs are for the future, the skills they're going to be looking for, the knowledge they're going to be looking for, to make sure we can really match that up. And obviously bringing our businesses very much into the forefront of working with you within schools as well to support that understanding. Just in terms of us as a team, there have been some slight changes. We've had some new additions to the team, which many of you will have already met because Katie and Imogen joined us back in November now. But just wanted to make you aware of some of the changes. So I'm actually moving into the skills manager role at Enterprise Oxfordshire. It started now, so I'm kind of already in the role, but Eleanor is, as you know, on maternity leave, and she's going to be taking on the strategic hub lead role when she returns from that in August. So at the moment, I'm kind of doing, well, I am doing both roles, which is absolutely fine because I've got the amazing support of the rest of the team to ensure that we can continue supporting you in the way that we have. So that's a change in terms of me moving into the skills manager role. I'll still be very involved in the Careers Hub, but it will just mean that I'm overseeing other skills programs and projects that we've got within Enterprise Oxfordshire as well, and looking at our overall skills strategy for the county. So I'm excited to do that full time, but also really pleased that I'll still be very much working with the Careers Hub. Susan has moved away from direct support as an enterprise coordinator with schools to actually leading more on our work experience and our employer engagement. So she is taking on that. She has been taking on that role since around the November time in terms of being that work experience lead, and is specifically at the moment working with 15 schools to really get them ready for modern work experience. So working directly with them around that agenda. That will ensure that actually then as a county, we have a really good idea of what works, which we'll be able to share with all of you as we move forward to modern work experience. So Susan's leading on that area. And then we've got Aoife, Katie and Imogen, who are your enterprise coordinators. Aoife is working with schools across the south and some other schools in the west. Katie's got schools in the north and the city, and I think a couple in the west as well, actually. And then Imogen is working with our special schools and also a few of the schools in the west as well. So the west is actually shared across our 3 enterprise coordinators. But hopefully those of you who are have Katie and Imogen as enterprise coordinators have probably already met with them now. We're thrilled to have them as part of the team. It's like they've been here forever, which is fantastic. And you'll hear more from them later in terms of they're going to be doing some support around the benchmarks. And then Fiona's staying with us as well. She's gone down to a couple of days a week, but we're really pleased to have her valuable knowledge still supporting us. And she's supporting mainly with Susan around the work experience programme and provision and sort of getting us all ready for that. In terms of one of the things I just wanted to make you aware of, and I'm going to do this very quickly because there is a webinar coming up from the CEC on this, but you probably have all got some communications with regards to On Track Plus. So I just wanted to say, we know it's here as well, and we know we absolutely are going to be ready to work with you on this. So I'm just going to run through a few slides. These are taken from the CEC, so I don't want to steal their thunder from when they do the webinar, which is why I'm just going to touch on it lightly, but just to give you a little bit of context, an idea of what we already know and how we potentially see it working going forwards as well. I think for all of you, understanding why it's needed is probably no surprise. We know that there's a challenge in terms of the number of young people who are NEET, and being its highest for over 10 years. And we also know that careers education is one of the tools we can use for prevention. So it's something that can really be leveraged with those young people who are at risk of being NEET in terms of helping them see what the potential of what next could be. And there's a real emphasis as well to make sure that we're doing that. And I know we've had this conversation with all of you before, but doing that as early as possible. So the earliest those young people are identified, the opportunity to really work with them in a bespoke way and potentially looking at how you can give additional support to them to really be able to understand what their next steps could be and what pathways are available to them. The tool itself sits on Compass Plus, so I think we're nearly at those of you who can upgrade to Compass Plus, we're nearly 100% of you now who are upgraded to that. It is a tool that helps you to identify those young people who are at risk of becoming NEET. It's been about 18 months of research that was done on this, and it was piloted across a number of hubs, not our own, but a number of hubs took part in this pilot program to really understand what were the key indicators when it became to young people who are at risk. So there are some intervention flags that can be pulled directly from your MIS. There are some others that if you wanted to as a school that you could add yourselves as well if you wanted to get that data included in that. So just for awareness, the automatic indicators that are pulled, and this On Track Plus is live on Compass Plus now, so you could go and some of you might have looked at it already, but you can ultimately go into it straight after this meeting, and all this data will be pulled to show you those groups of students within each year group who are potentially at risk. So the automatic indicators include persistent absence, persistent lateness, students on free school meals, pupil premium, those with an EHCP, those who are identified as needing SEND support, and also those on the ADACHI, those within that sort of the postcodes which sits in the ADACHI register, which is the register which shows in terms of child deprivation in terms of certain wards and postcodes. So those are the automatic indicators that are flagged. If anyone has any, and they're not, as we have done, as the council have done before, in terms of they've weighted certain indicators above others, these aren't. These are just purely, if a young person has any of those indicators, they will be highlighted as potentially at risk. That means you can then take that list, work with year leads and with SLT to decide who on those lists you really want to make sure you're giving some flexibility around what they can do through the careers provision to help really be a lever to support them in terms of preventing them becoming NEET. There are then other manual indicators you can add as well if you think they're important for your school. So students who have had multiple school moves, suspensions, young carers, academic achievement below standard, or a looked after child. So you can also add those manually as well. But it's really an opportunity for you to look at that information and work with others across the school to really understand which are the cohorts of students that, as I said, mostly need additional support, and where can careers be that lever for them in terms of that prevention piece. So really, I think it's going to be a really beneficial tool for everyone to use, and for you to start having those really good conversations with others across the school, to do that piece we've been talking about for a couple of years now, about having that distributed leadership when it comes to careers and making sure the whole school are engaged. It also links really well into the careers impact system, and something which I know many of you have now started doing, the internal leadership review. We're starting to do some of those peer-to-peer reviews as well. So really links in well with that, and can be absolutely part of that conversation to really understand how you're tracking particular cohorts of students, etc. And we know that disadvantage and NEET prevention is a real leadership challenge within many of our schools across the country, and across the county rather, and across the country. And we want to make sure that, as I said, that careers is really seen as a really important part of the solution to that as well. Obviously, it's a huge benefit. I'm not going to run through all of these, but as I said, it can provide that early insight. Usually in the past with OCC, it's only been from certain year groups and above. We've really looked into those into that data, but this obviously highlights it all the way from year 7. It helps careers leaders yourselves identify those who might be more benefit more from that responsive and targeted support. So that, as I said, that bespoke support, that stuff that you can move. We see these opportunities for help all the time, don't we? And sometimes you don't feel you've got enough time to actually get the wheels in motion to get certain students out of school to take part in opportunities that might come up. By highlighting them earlier and getting that permission from within school that these are the young people, actually, if a great opportunity comes up that's really going to meet their needs, let's get them onto that, let's get them involved in that. That can really help that be a swifter process for you as well. And it also absolutely put careers at the heart of, as I said, that real leadership challenge around disadvantage and around in terms of understanding those young people who are at risk. In terms of, there's just a couple of quotes there, which I will send the slides through to you so you can absolutely use those to share with SLT as well, to really understand how that has supported some of the schools that have already been using it. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds to read those. So there is already some really good practice and really good indicators in terms of how this is supporting schools to work better with those young people. And then finally, what next? We'd say get on there, start exploring that data. We are actually ourselves going to be speaking to the EAT team with the Oxfordshire County Council to look at how we use this tool in line with what they already do, whether this is something we use instead going forward. So we'll be having that conversation. We'll update you on that. Talk to your enterprise coordinator about how you can use the data strategically, how you can present that back to SLT and year group leads, etc. So starting to really have a think about that. Also think about how you can use it alongside the internal leadership review and the future skills questionnaire, how powerful that will be, especially with the future skills questionnaire, to have that data in terms of being able to look at that cohort that are at risk and then look at their future skills questionnaire responses to really understand what their needs are, what the gaps are, what their aspirations are, etc. So looking at how you can use that all together to be really strategic in your approach to careers. And then the CEC have got a webinar in March, which we will send these slides out, but we'll make sure you probably already had communication from the Careers and Enterprise Company about it to let you know, which will go a lot more in depth into the tool, how to use it, etc. and things like that. But it's pretty straightforward. And please, as I said, use your enterprise coordinator the next time you're meeting with them to walk you through it as well. And they'll be able to share how you can use that as well. Just a couple more things from me, and I'm aware of time and I don't want to use up too much of the time that the others are going to be talking about the benchmarks, because I realise that's the main focus for the session today, but just wanted to make you aware of another new tool which some of you I know have already signed up for and will be aware. We've been mentioning it through Picks of the Week. It's the career friendly tool system, and it's there really to support you in engaging with employers. So I'm just going to share this very quick video from the team, the Career Friendly Programme team, to help you understand a little bit more about it. Hopefully this will work.
We've no sound, Nikki, I'm afraid.
Okay, I will send it through with the slides. I had tried, let me try once more actually. I'm going to just stop sharing very quickly. And then I will reshare equally quickly in the hope that it works. Right, let me know, otherwise I'll give up and move on.
No sound.
No. Okay, fine. I will send that on, but basically that gives you a quick 1-minute overview of what the Career Friendly Programme is. I am also going to share with you the tool itself very quickly, but again, I would suggest you use the time you have with your enterprise coordinator when you're next meeting to have a look at this a bit more in depth. So hopefully you can see that now. Can everyone see the slide with the map on it, career friendly? Okay, so you have, first of all, you have to register for this. So any schools can register this for completely free. And as you see on the right there, it will show you a map. All the red indicators are businesses and all the blue indicators are schools. So what it enables you to do is go on to here and actually, for example, if I just click on here, you'll see Wood Green School. That's Joe's obviously gone on there already, put all of his details on there. It enables any business or anyone to be able to preview some information about that school, and then also importantly contact that school directly. So we had a business who wants to work with some local schools. If you're on there, they can find you and they can get in touch with you. Just going to move you guys out of the way. What you can also then do is you can then look around your school to see, okay, so are there any businesses around my school that I could directly contact? Now, if they are just a business who has put themselves on the system, they will come up as red. If they've actually potentially got an offer, they will come up as a different colour. So it's worth just highlighting that as well. But say, for example, right, there's a local chartered accountants, they put themselves on the system, they're obviously happy to be contacted directly by schools. So Joe could get in, I don't know if Joe's on the call, Joe could get in touch with them and let them know about whether they've got a human library coming up or some sort of event that he would like their support with. He can get directly in contact with them. He can look at a bit of a preview on them as well, if I can pull that up. Or show them a little bit of detail about who the contact is, but also obviously their website, exactly where they are, and a little bit of detail about that organisation as well, and their LinkedIn page, so he can even explore a little bit more before he gets in touch to find out more about them. So I'm constantly having to move people around all my windows around at the same time. So then obviously you can see we've got already quite a few businesses for Oxfordshire on here. We've been really pushing that with businesses, and we're really keen that you all get on there and start using it, and let's just see how it works. This year is very much a pilot for this. We want to see how it works and see whether it really supports you. We know previously we've used our website, so you've been able to put events on there. We're hoping that this works better than that. We had some success for some schools through that, but not always. So we're hoping this is something we can really continue to push to our employers locally. We've asked every employer that's coming to Careers Fest to make sure they're on there, so students could get in touch with them afterwards as well, or because students can also sign up and have accounts too. So do have a look at that. One thing that I did want to make you aware of as well, though, is we ran some webinars for parents. I'm sure you'll be aware. And also we ran a webinar to support the provider access legislation for all of you as well. You can find these if you search up our Oxfordshire Careers Hub. You will find these by literally going onto our page, going onto our videos, and they are now on there on demand. So there's the Exploring Careers and Health, which meets your PAL requirements. The way it does that as well, it's got to have that continued two-way interaction. Or, as I said, all of the employers who were on that webinar are also on the platform, so students can continue to ask them questions directly, having viewed that. So if you're watching that with a classroom of students, absolutely you can take some of their questions afterwards and directly go and contact those employers to get their answers. And then we do also have the support around apprenticeships and understanding those pathways for parents and carers, the one that's post 16 and the one that's post 18 as well. So again, really useful for you to share those with others, and make sure that, again, parents will have to sign up and have their own accounts to be able to use the system, but then they can access all of this great content. And there'll be other content going up from other hubs as well, which we will point you towards, which will also, I think, be really, really useful for you to use. There's a whole series of webinars coming up to help support PAL. So we will ensure that all of those are shared on our page as well, so that you can get access to all of those. But hopefully you'll find it a really useful resource. But as I said, do spend some time when you next meet with your enterprise coordinator to have a chat through that. And then finally, from me, my last slide, if I just go back to this one. Hopefully you can see that again now. Is just a quick reminder on the Careers Fest Twilight session. We have, I'm not sure of the numbers as of today, but I know we were at nearly 400 parents and carers signed up last week. So we were just really keen for you to continue to push this out within your schools. We have the flyer. We also have the visuals there, which we will send through to you, which you can use for social media as well, or if you want to put them in newsletters that you've got going out before the 18th of March. But we know it's a really valuable event. We know it's really valuable for parents and carers of young people from any year group, so whether that's year 9, 10 and onwards. We know we've also got young people who are at college who are looking at very much at that next step as well, who found it a really useful event last time. So please do continue to share that out, as we're keen to make sure as many people as possible are aware and are able to come along to that. So that's it from me. I'm going to stop sharing now. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've shared today or any comments at all? I don't know if there's anything in the chat. Oh, we've got someone.
Send info, I imagine you want.
Someone who's not on mute.
I won't give her analytics or admin right.
Hold on. Hopefully they are on mute now. Perfect. Any questions at all from anyone, any comments or thoughts? I shall hand over then to Katie, Imogen and Aoife, who are going to lead on the next part of today. And this is a section, as I said, would be great to get all of your questions, your thoughts in terms of having recently done the evaluations into the chat so we can respond to those.
Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, so we are here just to do an evaluation and an overview and give you some feedback from your recent evaluations. We did a real deep dive with the data, really looked at, you know, what was going well, where the gaps were, and then what we've done is we've outlined some recommended actions to support your progress across the benchmarks. We will try and keep this brief for you. And obviously we will follow up with all schools individually on the specifics, but we've tried to highlight, you know, which is the lowest scoring question across the board and what's a useful action to follow from that to help you with those. So yeah, so that's that. So we'll do an overview of the average benchmark data. There's some just general clarifications in terms of when you're filling it out, what kind of perspective you need to look at it from. Then we'll do feedback for each benchmark with recommended actions, and then there'll be time for any questions as well. And then we've also got a couple of resources that we've created that we think will really support you with your work experience and careers in the curriculum.
Sorry, that's me. Didn't take my microphone off. So we thought it would be handy for you to see the local picture versus the national picture. So firstly, we are down in the benchmarks achieved versus the national picture. Nikki's message, and I think all of us as ECs and representatives of the Careers Hub echo what she's saying, and that is it just gives us more room to shine and more room to grow and really showcase how quickly we can turn it around and improve it. I think it also is a indicator that you guys have been really, really honest and fair and use this as a real position to do a reset from. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case nationally, which is I think why we might be slightly below that benchmark average. So nothing to worry about, gives us room to grow, and I think it's a good sign that we've done that reset, which was what the intended purpose of these changes was. So the table at the bottom just shows the percentage of schools that we have in the local area that have achieved each benchmark, and the national picture as well. You can see that there are some where we're very close to the national picture, and there's some where we're quite a bit further away. We'll tackle those as we go through each benchmark individually, but it just gives you a bit of an insight that we've got a bit of stretching to do and a bit of a push on certain benchmarks, but generally as well. So but it's not a bad thing. And then this slide also just showcases the areas where we have been strong and not as strong. So those highlighted in green are our highest scoring benchmarks, or the highest average benchmark score. So for example, benchmark 2 is the highest average, so 89.88%. And then the lowest is benchmark 4 with just 60%. And then we've also shown you the SEND schools, FE schools, and then all of them together. So it slightly changes the picture, but not a huge amount there.
So just wanted to just clarify a few points. Obviously, when you're completing your evaluations, complete them from the point of view of what will happen by the end of the academic year, so including any planned activities. Use almost all to allow for non-attenders. This will still mean you can achieve the benchmark. If a question doesn't apply, so for example, encounters with sixth form colleges, tick all or yes, because it's unfair if it doesn't apply to your setting or your area. It's unfair for you to put no or none, because it'll bring it down when you're not going to achieve it anyway. And we do feel that sort of input from SLT is really important when completing these evaluations. So moving on to an overview of each individual benchmark. So starting with benchmark 1, so a stable careers programme. So the average score for this was 85.5%, which is really good. It's one of the highest scoring benchmarks, which is really, really positive. I actually feel that a lot of the solutions to this are quite simple fixes. So that's really positive. The lowest scoring question was, is your careers programme communicated in different formats beyond text on the website, so that it's accessible to users with different needs? So 58% scored, achieved this question. So we've got some actions or the next steps to follow from that. So collecting and using feedback from all groups. So that was another one that scored quite low, was actually using feedback, particularly from parents and carers and employers. So you can create a one-size-fits-all MS form survey that then, asks, who are you? Are you a student? Are you a parent, carer, etc.? And then it can branch off to different questions, and you can just send that out to those groups after each event. Obviously, communication with your careers programme. So I know with a lot of the conversations I had with my schools, it was around, updating the website, making sure that it includes means that, like, employers, for example, know how to communicate with you or how to get in touch with you, but also things like newsletters to staff or parents and carers, and the big one was the train careers leaders as well. So obviously we know that there isn't any available training right now. We've got a lot of new careers leaders in the area, but if you do the introductory units on the digital hub, and if you register for a careers leader course, you can then tick yes rather than no in the evaluation. So as long as you're on a waiting list for one of the courses that are on the CEC website, you can move forward with that. So benchmark 2, so learning from careers and labour market information. So this was our highest performing benchmark, which is fantastic, really, really positive. The two things that really came up was around the confidence in students using the labour market information to inform their next decision or their next steps, and also staff knowledge was scored low for access to labour market information and pathways. So I think some of that was around the actual question. So the question is actually, what percentage or what proportion of staff have access to labour market information? And I think perhaps it was there was a bit of a blurred line in terms of, you weren't sure whether staff were using it or knew the information, but it's about making sure that they have access to. So as long as they have access, we can tick yes, or almost all, or whatever the answer is. But so for next steps for this, so we feel that there's a sort of a lack in data to reinforce confidence in learners using LMI. If you use FSQ, this can obviously help you to review their use and their understanding of the labour market information. And then for staff access, create a shared careers folder with information resources. If you send out a newsletter on careers to parents and carers, send it out to your staff as well, and then that just makes sure that you are putting the information in front of them and they have access to it should they need it. And then benchmark 3, so addressing the needs of each pupil. That's come up really blurry for some reason, but the average score, I think there is 81.8%. And the big question that came up here, which was the lowest performing question, was using longer term destinations for pupils to evaluate your careers programme. Sustained destinations did also score quite low as well. Obviously, it's really important to know what students are going on to do in the short and long term to make sure that you are providing them with access to the right information and opportunities. For example, if destination data shows that actually 50% of your sixth form students go on to do an apprenticeship rather than go to university, you need to make sure that you are obviously providing them with that information. So there's a couple of things that you can do to support this. So you can if you set up your institution as a school on LinkedIn and you encourage your students and previous students to join, that automatically generates long-term destination data for you. Because I know a big question was like, well, how do we get that information? How do we actually do that? Because that's a big piece of work. Well, actually LinkedIn will do it for you. There is also you can use government data, so not necessarily specific to your school, but it's national information on what students are going on to do, and you can use that as well. And what we've done is at the end of the slides, there are some useful links which directly relate to these actions that we're suggesting, and that is one of those links on there. So you can just go and have a look at that when you get an opportunity. Thank you.
Fab. So moving on to benchmark 4. So this was linking curriculum learning to careers. This was quite a low scorer, and one of our lowest, as we said at the beginning. The lowest scoring question, so only 33% of people that completed the questionnaire scored on this, was what proportion of staff who support pupils have careers embedded in their continuous professional development programmes. This highlights to us that maybe there's something that we could be doing to support you. So if there is anything here that you think actually it'd be great for us to come along to inset days and things like that, that is something that we would absolutely be interested in supporting. And I think also it highlights again for us that we need to have that SLT engagement in order to push that from a top-down model. So ensuring that it's on SLT's mind, and therefore it's ended upon the remit of all staff to be involved in careers in some way or another. One of the things that was really highlighted here in terms of the way people answered was that there was a lot of don't know responses. In fact, more than 20% of the answers that people gave were don't know here, which I think shows that people are a bit shocked possibly by the question being asked, which is fair enough because we know the changes have come in. But I think it also highlights that things like understanding which teachers and which subjects are embedding careers into the curriculum is not necessarily, careers leaders and people completing this are not necessarily aware of that. So a few of the things that we thought would be really helpful for this is really trying to push that collaborative approach. I know that it's difficult depending on the way that the school's set up and the way that careers is viewed within the school, but we thought a really easy step would be to try and send out a survey to the teachers to find out where they're embedding careers into their subjects, and how frequently and things like that. We've also got some resources that we'll show you at the end that will really support this, I think, and there's also embedded in those resources a link to My Learning, My Future, which has pre-made resources, preset presentations for each subject essentially, where class teachers can literally present that information to their learners, which gives them labour market information and careers information to support that specific curriculum piece. Benchmark 5, we scored 85% on average, it's one of the higher ones, which is really positive. It also shows that we're possibly a couple of questions off for a lot of people in achieving that benchmark. The lowest scored question was which of the following statements are true of your school. I think on the next page I've got some further information there to break it down, but if not, we can send that out to you afterwards. The least ticked options were learning outcomes and reflection, which we'll cover in a moment with the next steps on how we can build on that and try and improve that so that more people are able to tick that statement. It was also some to do with the meaningful encounters as well, and building careers into the existing trip. So we have a new resource coming for that as well. If there is only one encounter, how can we use what we're already doing to build upon that and make sure that it's got a careers focus? Like I said, we'll show you that resource at the end. So yes, sorry, this is just some further information about that multiple choice response question. So out of 36 responses, 20 people chose all 4 options, which is great. So those 20 people there believe that they are hitting the meaningful description. Like I said, the lowest were learning outcomes being underpinned and time for reflection. Our thoughts are that actually we can build, generally speaking, as far as I understand it, when a trip is presented as an option and it gets approval, there is a reason and a justification for creating it. So I think if we have that, can we turn that into a learning outcome or an intended learning outcome rather than a justification at a sort of SLT level, and make sure that that's communicated to the young people attending as well. I think that we're all doing these kind of things and we're probably just not necessarily able to quantify or define them in the way that this is now asking us to. So something to think about, just making sure that those learning outcomes are embedded into the process of designing whatever that trip or engagement is. And then the other thing, and again, I think most people are doing this in a maybe quite a light touch way, and that's really all it has to be, but some time to reflect. So for those young people that have attended, what have they learned? What did they enjoy? What have they engaged with? Have they made any decisions based on it? And they can be verbal or they can be written, and they can be in form time or they can be in a more formal sort of planned time for them to do it after the experience. Benchmark 6, so experiences in the workplace. Again, it's not too bad of an average score, 80%, one of our higher ones again. We noticed here that the real drawback, I guess, for most schools was for Key Stage 3 engagement. So only 29% of those schools that completed felt that they had one meaningful experience of workplace in Key Stage 3. So something that we really need to work on, and it's certainly a big push for the government and for the DFE. And I think that that's reflected in the new On Track tool and also FSQ. So I think we can really notice the value when we look at that NEAT tool and the reason that they're pushing it for younger year groups. We can really make a difference to NEAT, and we can really make a difference to the outcomes of learners, excuse me, by engaging them earlier. So I think that's something to really aim for, is engaging them in those meaningful experiences at Key Stage 3. And then Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5 were not too bad. It was, I think, a question of that definition, whether they met all of the different points of it being meaningful, rather than that they weren't having experiences at all. So just a small change there with the new definition that's been brought in. Oops. So key takeaways for you just with Benchmark 6. We've got some new resources that will be really helpful, hopefully, and we'll take your feedback. We've still got time to tweak them. If you feel there's things that could be added or clarified, we'll show you them at the end. And they're just on how we can make trips careers focused and how we can engage careers staff with, curriculum staff with careers at those different levels. And I think it's really just highlights as well that we need a focus on what already exists in Key Stage 3 and build upon it, because we know that there will be opportunities for them, but how can we make sure that they've got a careers work focus there? Over to you, Aoife.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. So benchmark 7. Benchmark 7 is really closely linked to benchmark 2, which is the labour market information one. So looking at it, average score 84%. So this is saying that all school students need meaningful encounters with further and higher education. I've put a little in the chat description of what the Careers and Enterprise Company have decided meaningful encounter means, which might actually help shed some light on what they're looking for. But it's obviously giving them encounters with all of the different institutions, providers that is available to the young person. It shows that schools with a sixth form tend to actually achieve a little bit less on this benchmark, just because it may be that, you know, they tend to be more focused on one route after sixth form, university, that sort of thing, as opposed to schools that finish at year 11, because they tend to be much more focused on looking at all of the different options available to school leavers at that age. Yeah, do you want to, if I can move on, Imogen, is that okay? Thank you. Imogen's gonna have a little chat now about the further information.
Thanks, Eva. So this is just a table that shows you those responses again for those multiple choice questions in benchmark 7. So again, we just really wanted to highlight that the lowest scoring questions or the lowest selected options for this question were again learning outcomes and an opportunity for reflection. We feel that those can be built on fairly easily and not time sensitively. So hopefully that just reinforces the fact that this has come up consistently over and over again, that they need to be underpinned by learning outcomes. We need to make sure that the young people understand why we're creating these engagements for them, and that they are given time to reflect on how that might affect their decisions, what they've learned and what they've enjoyed from that. So yeah, just those little bits there for you.
So next steps to support you guys in achieving this benchmarks, like Imogen said, underpinned by learning outcomes, time for reflection. So that could be verbally. It's such a fast moving pace in a school. Understandably, you guys have got so much on. So it is about anything that we produce, like, surveys, encounters, just use what we've already got and what we're already producing, so that you don't have to do it. We've got all the materials and resources there. And like the girls have said, please use your enterprise coordinators. If you can't find something, let us know and we'll signpost you in the right direction. I know it's hard, obviously, to get everything done, but trying to, in your school inset days, these are quick wins that teachers, curriculum leads can put within their learning outcomes and lesson plans. And then a lot of this stuff has already been created for you. It's just about using it, finding where it is, which is where we step in. So benchmark 8. So personal guidance. This is obviously, you guys know what personal guidance is. What proportions of students have met with a qualified careers advisor between year 12 and 13 is one area. That goes down a little bit. So what we find it helps, and what the advice is, and some of the changes between the old benchmarks, is that the calling the meetings a guidance interview can make students feel like they are being interviewed, and instead calling it a guidance meeting, we have found can be quite helpful, because it makes the student feel like they're more involved. It's a two-way conversation and they're not being interviewed as such. So that's some of the advice, that how we can support the changes. QFC level 6 careers advisor is what is required in order to give the guidance interviews. Getting support from teachers to encourage attendance is always really good. You've got to achieve the benchmarks. We know that not all students are going to get seen, but as long as they are being offered the opportunity, for school refusers, it's about offering different ways of doing that, whether it's over the phone, over Teams, even over messaging, email, whatever's going to support that student, as long as that they have been offered the opportunity to come for an interview. As I said, whether it's a different way and not face to face, is absolutely fine. And I think that's it from Gatsby Benchmark 8. If anybody's got any questions, here's some really useful resources.
Yeah, so these links just they're directly linked to all of the, the actions that we've suggested. So they're really, really helpful. So yeah, My Learning, My Future is there. School's Guide to LinkedIn, the destinations, online training courses. So that's to do with like staff CPD and things like that. And obviously there's careers leads, etc. So they're just helpful and easy to find for you. So we thought we'd try and make it easy as possible.
Has anybody got any questions at this stage? I'll stop sharing actually, so I can see your faces again. Oh, who we got first?
Did you have a question? Got your hand
Hi,
up?
sorry.
Hiya.
Thank you, that was really useful. I just wondered about LinkedIn and setting our institution up as a school. That's like a really good idea. So I was looking at our because HR has our LinkedIn page, so I think we're set up as a business.
Mhm.
But then I looked in the settings, and it does say primary and secondary education. So I just wondered if anyone has any experience of like setting their school up on LinkedIn and allowing the students to join, because I think that could be really good. But I think the way that ours is set up at the moment, it would look like they were an employee rather than a student. So yeah, if anyone has any experience with that, I'd like to hear about that, please.
I know Gillett's had a really good, I don't think they're on the call though, unfortunately. And Europa.
Oh yeah, sorry, Eva. I am here, but
hello.
Hello. I am new to the role though. It's Chloe who set it up, so I'm not sure I can offer much help. I'm interested to hear.
She was very good at updating it, wasn't she? Laura is very new though, so apologies for dropping.
No, don't worry.
Laura. Yeah. So, but even just for reference, Catherine, to go back and have a look at what Chloe did and the sort of things that she was sharing. So any encounters, any people that came into the school, employers and stuff, she was just really good at sharing it with the network, and also involving the network and building it by, you know, asking for help on their support when you guys have got things coming up. She was very good at doing that. Yeah, and Europa in the past, I know, Rosie, you're there.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a bottleneck because everything goes through our sort of business manager. So some things end up there, some things don't. And it's not I'm actually going through the whole process now of reviewing how we're using it. So conversation with you, Ms. Bailey, later on would be really good actually to work out, you know, connect sort of I'm almost thinking of starting from scratch, because we do have a careers one separately, but I just don't have the time to manage that, and if it's going to be done properly, it needs to be current, and you know, and so on. So I kind of filter one to the other. The other thing that we're dealing with at the moment is it's social media, and we're only really comfortable with suggesting students join that when they're 18, and there's not a great time in year 13 to do that with exams, and some of them aren't 18 by the time they leave and this kind of thing. So it's all, there will be a way around it, but we're in a bit of a mess at the moment. So yeah, a conversation with anyone else who's interested in doing that would be actually really useful for us too.
Yeah, please. I was just going to say, please do feel free to email me about that, because I'm happy to talk. I think I have access to our LinkedIn page, so I can post on there, which is good. It is more about, yeah, the ability to use it to see destinations would be really useful. So I think it's more about that, but I'll try and work that one out.
So have a look at the link as well, because that is a bit of a sort of a step-by-step guide. Okay. And I've just popped in the chat as well that it's not in Oxfordshire, but the Misbourne in Buckinghamshire have a really good LinkedIn page, and they do a lot on there with their alumni and everything. So maybe reach out to, I think it's Helen there that's the careers lead. She might be able to help and give some advice as well.
So Catherine, we did run a webinar on LinkedIn probably 2 or 3 years ago. I'll see if I can dig out the link, but obviously I'm not quite sure how relevant it still is. But I know we had quite a few schools then who were set up as businesses, not schools. And they had, the advice was to get in touch with LinkedIn themselves and see if you can get that changed. Because I don't think there is a way you can do that from your side. That might have changed now, but previously it was very much you had to get in touch. You can just obviously use the contact them on LinkedIn, get in touch, and they can potentially change you over to be an educational institution rather than a business. So that might be the first thing to try.
Use your enterprise advisor, because a lot of them will have some really good experience on using LinkedIn for recruitment and stuff for their own businesses or company or organization that they work for. So it could be something that you ask your enterprise advisor to lead on. Perhaps, you know, take control of that for you.
Is there a question? Another question?
Stuart, I think, has his hand up. Hi, Stuart.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you. That was really, really helpful. Really appreciated that. I just had a couple of things. So just to clarify, I think Ethan was saying for benchmark 8, offering students personal guidance meetings, we could count that towards the benchmark. I'm conscious the benchmark says they have had a meeting, but offering them and whether they turn up or not, that would still be okay.
Yeah, because I think Claire, we chatted about this, didn't we? Claire Tuckwell. Yeah, so it's for those students who, you know, maybe they're not attending school refusers. As long as you have offered them, you know, a number of appointments to be there and made them accessible. So if it's that they're not coming into school, they've been offered a telephone or a Teams interview. So it's about looking at the alternatives and ensuring that the students' needs have been brought about. You know, for example, any SEND students, if they don't feel like, you know, they can do the face-to-face, eye contact, etc.
I think with us, it's more a case of we, well, a lot of our careers advisor work is one-to-one interviews, but we offer, just to get through the whole year group in year 11 and in sixth form, we offer small group interviews. And then quite a few students who turn up to school every single day, they might not turn up to those guidance sessions, but in that case, we've offered it to them.
As long as they've been offered a one-to-one, and then if that hasn't worked and the small group, like 3-4 students at a time, that can be counted.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Thank you for that. And then my other final question for the moment, 4.3, which I'm just pulling up on my screen here. I found that quite hard to say how those different sectors are included within the program of study. I mean, we use kind of like Unifrog to, you know, students are exploring Unifrog, but I don't know if you've got any advice or guidance around 4.3.
So that, that's it's the different subject, the sector areas, isn't it? The subject areas. So I think
which don't always align with the school subjects. It's easy.
No, so there is obviously the option for course not taught here. So if you don't teach the course and it doesn't align, then you can obviously use that option, and that's fine.
Okay.
So that's the first point. And then I think obviously it's, you know, it's making sure that there is you know, careers embedded into each of those subject areas, which the resources that we've got that we'll share, and obviously the My Learning, My Future as well, will really help, because that covers those PowerPoints that they've come up with. They're like 16 slides, and it covers kind of, you know, careers that link to those subject areas, the pathways, the different options, and it also says about, which I'm really keen on, is talking about kind of the not so directly related careers that link to those subjects, which I think is really important in terms of getting engagement beyond kind of the obvious and stuff. It looks at as well the skills that you'll develop from doing those subjects as well. So they're already there, they exist. You can put them in subject teachers' laps and say, here you go, present this every so often, and then it sort of ticks that box for you, basically.
So for ones, I mean, for example, the first one says agriculture, horticulture and animal care, which we do not teach here at Didcot Girls' School. We just don't need to tick that. We can ignore that.
Yeah, you just do course not taught here, and that's fine. But what you might actually find is that will come up potentially in another subject area in some way or another, in that kind of not so directly related careers way. But yeah, if you don't teach it, if it's not one of your subject areas, then just tick that, and then that's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you very much.
Perfect. If nobody's got any more questions, we'll move on to showing you the resources, but please do pop your hand up again if you have questions. Oh, Nikki.
I was just going to say, in case people haven't seen it, I popped a question in the chat which didn't come out in full, which is not very helpful. I probably put too many characters in there. But one of the things obviously that's been consistent through Aoife, Imogen and Katie, and what they've been talking about, is that really needing that support of SLT. So if you can just highlight, I've actually got a call tomorrow with the Oxfordshire Secondary Schools Head Teachers Association. I've got Nicola Hall from the CEC who's coming along to that to talk to them about some of the changes with the benchmarks and also with work experience. But what I want to do as well as part of that is I'm going to be really making sure we highlight to them the areas and the benchmarks where we really think where the schools need their support, where you as careers leaders need their support the very most. We've sort of highlighted that as probably being benchmark 4 or benchmark 6, but I don't want to guess that. So if you can just respond to the question in the chat, which is, which of the benchmarks do you feel as careers leaders you need the most support from your SLT to ensure that you can meet and achieve those benchmarks? Highlight that in there. I can then raise that tomorrow at that meeting, and then we can also do some more work with you and them together to ensure that we really try and sort of bridge that gap. So you've got them championing the benchmarks where you need them to do that the very most. So if you can all just respond to that, that would be great. And that's me.
Okay, I will show you the resources now. Like I said, they are in theory finished, but we can still take suggestions, tweaks, that kind of thing. So we will start with the quick guide to embedding careers in the curriculum. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So our intention for this is not necessarily that this is a printout. If you did have the resource to do that and you wanted to stick it up in a staff room, I think it could be a really useful tool. But alternatively, we're sort of suggesting that this is send this out to careers staff. Like I said, there's some links within it which I'll show you and click through. But we thought it was just a way of ensuring that we show how easy and effective it can be for curriculum staff to build in careers into their practice and into their sessions and things like that. So we talked about making careers connections, utilising the knowledge that they already have, and possibly some of the connections that you as careers leaders and SLT will already have as well with businesses that you've worked with, using real scenarios and things that are actually taken from the working world and applying them. And again, that's probably somewhere where that joined up working with careers leaders and curriculum is a really important part of this, initiating those conversations and facilitating that collaborative piece internally, but also with external businesses and things like that as well. We also think it's a great way to great thing to show videos that have been already created by employers. We've just been working with Thames Water, who were really keen to hear what you guys wanted, and a few people, I'm not sure if anybody that is on this call was at the meeting, but things were mentioned about specific resources about roles that will be available, about the jobs and things that people do within Thames Water. We've linked it to the Skills Builder framework. So again, it's got clickable links, which hopefully that should take you, and it does, that's brilliant, it works, and takes you to the Skills Builder framework so that they can look at that and understand the value of that there, showcasing opportunities, and then bringing in curriculum friendly encounters. And this is where at the bottom here, we've linked to My Learning, My Future. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. As Katie said, this is a really good resource, and not only does it highlight very obvious ways of linking careers to specific subjects, but it actually does the less trodden path, or the less well-known path that people might follow having studied these subjects. It also tells you which benchmarks it achieves and which it links to. So you can see there's some for core subjects, chemistry, English, broader subjects like design, technology, engineering, drama, food, nutrition. They're really, really good. There's a PowerPoint and a PDF for each resource, so please do utilise that. We think that actually if you can share this information with your curriculum staff, it will be a really nice and easy way for them to take up engaging with it. So that's the first document. I'll move on to the second one because I can't see any hands up, but if any hands do go up, I will come back to you. So this is our second resource. So this was spurred on by another hub who had created a really nice flyer, a bit of information about how they can build a careers focus into all the trips that are organised essentially, and how just a few small tweaks to the way that they're organised, what you do on the day and who's involved, can actually give them that careers focus and make them careers applicable. And brilliant for Key Stage 3, where we know that there's an under-resource in terms of access to workplaces and things like that. So things like asking whoever you're going to visit if a possible employee could have a talk with the students or be there on site to engage with them at different points and talk about their career, the pathways that they've chosen, the qualifications they've got, what their role involves, etc., is a really great way. Little bits like keeping a record of the connections that you've made, logging it on Compass Plus, and then some things to do during the trip. We've also highlighted the making it meaningful definition there as well, and really emboldened those bits that are key to ensuring that it meets that that target. Reflection we've highlighted as, again, because we know that that's a big part of building that in, and it's an area that we have been sort of low on as well, and really again pushed getting feedback from employees and students and keeping in touch with those people, because they might have opportunities for students that have really enjoyed it. One thing we added to this that I think is hopefully useful for you guys and is just an easy resource that you can just push out to them is a little checklist. So if you click here at the bottom, it should take you to this lovely document. This is essentially what we're hoping the use of this will be, is that you guys as careers leaders can send this to whoever is organising the trip, and almost like all of those other bits of paper that they have to organise already, they would complete this to make sure that each trip meets the meaningful definition, that we know who's been there, the date that it happened, the trip that it was, so that it can be returned to you as a careers leader, uploaded onto Compass, and we can utilise that as another way to tick that box, but in that meaningful way, to ensure that hopefully whatever year group it is, but particularly Key Stage 3, are given those opportunities and given that that time for careers learning in all that they do. So they're the resources as they are at the moment. If anybody has any, tweaks or changes or things that they'd like added in, do let us know. But as long as people are happy, I think we're sending them out post this session, so you'll be able to use them from there. And like I said, all of those links do work, so please do encourage people to use those resources. And we've tried to link what already exists where possible as well, while making it a bit more accessible and in one place.
Rosie has asked, is there any information on how the recent changes are impacting on the workload of career staff? Really good question, Rosie. So we're hoping, and the CEC, this is the reason that these, one of the reasons obviously that these benchmarks have been updated, is it needs to have SLT input when completing these, so that SLT are aware of everything you're doing and how much is being asked of you. What I really want to say is that this is a long-term plan. These benchmarks is a long-term plan. These aren't going to happen, all of these aren't going to be hit overnight. They're massive changes. Obviously, the whole reason we do it is to support student and young people in making these decisions. But a major part of that, and your role, it is helping SLT see how much is being put on you, what support you need. And Nikki going along to Oxfordshire and us being part of that, it is where we, explain this is what they're being asked, this is what is happening, in order to, fight your corner, really. Nikki, did you want to add?
Yeah, I was just going to add, and I think you're absolutely right, Aoife. I think also that why that SLT engagement is so important is for you, is because there is a lot that's changed. There is, and we would like you to be able to work with them to go, right, what are we going to prioritize in our school? What of all those things that have changed? You can't do it all. You can't change, as Aoife said, you can't change them all overnight. So what are you going to prioritize at school? What's the most important thing for you as a school to get right to support your students? Is that working with small cohorts that are at risk of becoming NEET and making sure they've got enhanced provision around careers to make sure they really understand what their next steps would be? Is it about focusing on Key Stage 3 to ensure they understand what the various pathways are out there? What is it for your community and your school that you're supporting that are the priorities? So that actually we're not expecting everyone to be meeting all 8 benchmarks. We were at an average of 6 before this reset. So that's the ambition is obviously that would be amazing at some point, but that's years off, if ever, to be honest, because we're always looking through that lens of that continuous improvement. The ambition is to make sure that you've really had a think within your school as to what you need to focus on. So if Ofsted were to come in, you could say, okay, we're meeting 3 or 4 benchmarks, but this was our priority, and this is how we've made a difference, and this is the outcome that we've had for the young people that we were focusing that support on. And I think that is where that conversation needs to happen with SLT to really, and that's where the internal leadership review absolutely is the key document that will help you have that conversation, that will help you get, sorry Katie, you're just about to jump in there with
that's
that
what
one.
I was going to say, it's fine.
Yeah, to really help you have that conversation, to work out what the priorities is, because you can't do it all. You can't, there is absolutely that view. There's not the funding there either, I'm afraid, Sharon. And I know they don't have any more money to do any more than they are as well. I know SLT is supportive of the programme. I know they're not holding it back, but they need to help you decide what to focus on. So you can't focus across the board. You just do not have that capacity. So what do they want to see? And so when Ofsted come in, what have you really made sure your careers provision is doing, and who's it doing it for? And I think if you can get to that point first, then hopefully over time things may change. But initially, I think you just both need to be saying the same story in terms of what you're trying to do and achieve. I don't know if anyone else has got any thoughts on that, or if that helps at all, Rosie.
I think it's so helpful to have, if you aren't a member of SLT yourself, to have SLT in the room when you are completing Compass at the end of the term.
Yeah, we had a really good conversation based around the internal leadership review, but it was myself, it was a senior member of the leadership team, and the governor responsible for careers and other things at school. But we all left the conversation thinking, where do we start? How do we do this? There is no money, there is no more time, and that sort of thing. So it's and they really left it to me. What would you like to do? Well, I've got a million ideas, but it's more kind of, we're also, we're context, we're a growing school, so things are changing, and it's kind of where to set the path, where to set the course, if you like, on that one. And although things are specific to us, there is also the 8 Gatsby benchmarks, which aren't that flexible in some ways.
Yeah.
So it's you're marrying the two, and we seem to spend a lot of time talking about it, but not actually necessarily doing it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I have fairly good access to SLT, but I am remote from them, and that's it's a sort of it is a changing relationship. But if you guys are kind of also coming from the top down and they're getting a message from elsewhere, then that is useful. That it may be a different spin, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, no, I think you're right,
and it always will be, Rosie. And these 8, the benchmarks now is a gold standard of delivering. That's that's not going to happen overnight. And as Nikki said, as if ever, it will happen. But this is what is the gold standard. Work and focus on what you can do, and make the Gatsby benchmarks that you guys can achieve, the ones that you're doing, make them great. There's no more time, there's no more funding. We're aware of that. Focus on the ones that you can do and do them really well.
There's no target from the DfE around the number of benchmarks that a school meets at the moment for this year. We don't even know if they'll put they used to be. We don't even know if they'll put a target in for next year. I think the most important thing is that those conversations are happening to make how are you linking your careers provision with the school development plan? How are you prioritising what's being prioritised through that as well? So where's that linkage, and how's careers being used as that lever? I think if you can talk in that sense, the benchmarks will hopefully fall into place alongside that. But I'd almost say your priority is making sure you're having the greatest impact and the best outcomes for those young people that need it the most. But that's going to be different for each school, and that's, I think, where Ofsted, if you can, as I said, when Ofsted come in, if you can both tell that same story from an SLT perspective, from a careers perspective, and from a whole school staff perspective as well, I think that will be fine. They won't be as bothered about how many of the benchmarks you're meeting. And I know it's what schools, and that's what we'll say to head teachers, or Nicola Hall will say that to the head teachers. I know the focus has always been around meeting the benchmarks before, and obviously we want to get you there because they are the gold standard, but prioritise what you need to first of all, rather than just doing that scattergun, we need to get it all done.
I just wanted to add, obviously you said that you'd done the ILR and you kind of came away thinking, okay, well now and they sort of left it to you. Perhaps a peer-to-peer review might help you to then figure out what is the priority for your school. So that might be the next step to take from there. And also, I think, as I said, you know, some of the benchmarks, we were so close with some of them. There are, I think, some relatively easy fixes with some of them, that it's not all, you know, huge amounts of work. I know it's more work, but it's not all, you know, big changes that need to happen. There are some, I think, some quite small and simple fixes that you know, you can make to help you to progress with those. So don't be too overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And use each other. You're not alone. We're all here together. We're here to support you. If you need any, this is our network, because it can be quite an isolating role, I think sometimes. So please do use this network of us. Use what you've already got in place in school. Don't reinvent anything, like the school trips, as Imogen and Katie were saying. It's just by school trips that already happen, and just adding the careers context into it by, you know, for example, if there's an apprentice on the site, you know, asking, can they come and have a chat with the kids? You know, can they be present just to answer questions that students might have, things like that. But there isn't any more time. And yeah, I think that you're all doing such a great job that I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. And I know it is really overwhelming, there is, but focus on what you already are doing. And if you can do them well, then the rest will sort of fall into place eventually. It just takes years and time building those relationships.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Hopefully those resources show as well how you can almost offload some of that responsibility as well to curriculum. So we're not expecting you to go up to them and say, you need to do this in your curriculum. We're saying, here's a handy leaflet that you can share with them to say how they can do it. So, and the careers at the trips as well. We're not expecting you to organise the trips. We're just saying, you know, here's a resource
what's already happening in the school.
Yeah. So hopefully that will lighten the load eventually, if not straight away. Echo everything you said. You're doing a great job.
Put them on the wall, but you don't have to do that. You know, ask the teachers, here, print these off, put them on the wall, because it will help them. It helps them as well.
And I think where possible, you know, encourage SLT to send that information out. You know, if it's coming from SLT to them rather than from you, there might be a bit more weight to it. And stuff. So yeah, so if you can encourage your SLT to send out those resources and information, and you know, obviously Nikki's meeting with head teachers tomorrow, so she can say, you know, the careers leads need your support to make these things happen, to achieve the benchmarks.
And Nikki's put it in the chat, but if there's anything else that you feel like a resource would be really useful for, I'm not claiming to be anything particularly special, but I really will do my best, and it would be nice to know what you feel like you need. So please do let your EC know, let me know, and we will do our best to try and form something that is an easy, quick win, and that can divert some of that responsibility.
Like Imogen said, you know, offload some of that responsibility. If your school has an enterprise advisor, ask them to deliver something, or to do something for you. You know, for example, LinkedIn, as we mentioned earlier, yeah, absolutely, we can put on more training, but it's something new and more for you guys to do if you're not already doing it. You know, perhaps it's something that we've got an EA meeting coming up soon. Perhaps it's something that we can, you know, we will mention to them and ask them to get in touch with you, and you get in touch with them to get them to do it.
Great. Thank you so much, Imogen, Katie and Aoife, for that sort of dive into the benchmarks. Thank you for all your questions as well. That's hugely helpful. Has anyone got anything else, any other comments or questions they'd like to ask at all? Where I can probably give you Catherine.
Oh, Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much, because I feel like the framing of this, especially over the last 10-15 minutes, has just put me in a much better mood about all of it. And also I'll just say to all the career leads on the chat, if anyone wants to just have a 5-minute chat at any point, if you're feeling like really isolated, or you just want a rant, then please do reach out to me, because we're the only people that get it, like outside of this group. People just don't know what we're on about. So I'm always here for
Catherine,
a
that's
chat.
lovely of you. Thank you.
That is lovely.
I'm sure people will take you up on that. We will be doing a face-to-face meeting. You know, we always do our annual event in June, July. So I think we have put a date in the diary. We're looking for a venue. Which did we put was it the 1st of July?
1st of July.
So I will send that out to everyone. Obviously, as many of you that can make that would be fantastic. We're still looking at exactly what we focus that around. We'll probably take some of the feedback from today into that as well. We definitely will be looking at using the tools that are available to you to strategically plan for your careers provision. So we'll be looking at On Track Plus, etc., and how we can use those. But we will get more. I'll send out today the placeholder for that, and we'll confirm more details about exactly what will be included. But if you can all come along for that day, that would be fantastic. And we'll try and get quite a central venue. Stuart, you've got another question.
Yes. Yeah, I was just thinking what will be useful for me. I would find it useful just to have short bite-sized sessions, maybe just like 15 minutes, because I don't know about others, but it's quite hard to find an hour and a half to attend sessions like this, although this one has definitely been worthwhile, where maybe one or two other schools are just talking about one particular benchmark and how, and giving us some very real and tangible examples of how they are fulfilling them, or maybe some of the challenges. But sort of 15-minute sessions you could opt into, I'd find that helpful and manageable.
Do you think, Stuart, like the drop-in sessions we've had more recently last term, just dropping, perhaps we could do them a bit more regularly, like once a month or something, where one of us from the team will be on the call, myself, Imogen, or Katie, and it's a time for anyone from the network, you guys, to drop in and ask anything, whether it's about the benchmarks, whether it's about an event, whatever. Do you think that might be quite helpful?
I think that would be useful. I mean, I do personally feel I could just email you or Nikki whenever I wanted to, and you guys are great at getting back to me. I feel I'd quite like to hear from other schools what they're doing. It often just brings it to life a little bit more.
So do you think if we put the dates in the diary and then you guys
maybe just one a month, perhaps.
We can look at doing that. We can look at maybe the schools that are meeting each of the benchmarks and get them to come along and talk about what they're doing to meet those, Stuart.
As I said, just those short sessions, just 15 minutes.
Because obviously each area has had their SOLP, etc., and West Oxfordshire is not WOLP, it's COLP or whatever it is now. But obviously that's another quite a long meeting, or if it's face to face, it means more travelling and time out that you guys can't do. So this could be sort of an alternative to that.
Yeah, we'll have a chat about that as a team and get. Thank you, Stuart. It's a really good suggestion. Perfect. Thank you, everyone, and thank you. Oh, Laura, you already reached out to Catherine, so that's great. So there's a connection made there as well. And as we're obviously get in touch with any of us whenever you need anything. But thank you very much for attending today. And see you all soon.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. You want to stay on for a minute, team?
I think everyone's left. Apart from us and Fiona. Never mind.
Fiona's there. Hey, Fiona.
Then there was 3.
I can't hear you. You're right.
Yeah, so then there was 3. Well done, that was great.
Well done. It's not.
I think John's still on. It's John.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, I think John's still on from Bicester. Oh no, yes, he's
there's
still
Imogen.
On.
She's back.
Maybe John's had to nip out. He's still on. I'm not sure.
Shall I see if I can? Yeah. Just thought it'd be quite useful to do a little debrief after that.
Yeah.
If that's all right. Of what we need to do now.
Do you want me for the debrief, Eva, or shall I just go?
You can go, Fiona.
All right, okay.
Unless you
but you did really well.
You want to be given some actions, Fiona?
Sorry?
Do you want to be given some more actions?
I've got enough action here. Thank you very much. Too old for action now, Aoife. I've had my years of action.
Listen. I wish
Take
I
care. Well
was.
done.
See you later.
See you later.
Oh, that's it. It's just us break. Okay then.
Oh,
well
I
done,
think that went
guys.
really
Thank
well.
you for doing that.
Yeah, I think that went really well.
Sorry, I'm really terrible at public speaking, as you can see. I'm
You
much
did really
better.
right. You're really good.
I'm fine at when people have questions and I can talk like it's a normal conversation. I can't present like.
I was well impressed. The things you were saying, I wouldn't have even have thought of saying.
No, same.
I'm not
I
even
think you're
proud
really
of you.
good.
Really, yeah, it was really
But
good.
then you muddle up your words, and it never gets any easier. Me and Mel used to have to do loads of assemblies, and I was just awful. It was awful.
This is still recording.
Oh right, bless. Can we turn the? Have you got the
Turn it
tran-
off.